Welcome, my name's Kris and this is Egg Rock, and together we present a landmark guide to history and mythology, up close and on location. I first adopted Egg Rock when I was 7 years old, but it was a trip to Japan that impressed on us the importance of our connection. Egg Rock and I have been communing, talking, and it's time we built Egg Rock a little home, a place to chill, a nest if you like. Thanks Kris, I guess challenge accepted, but you crazy. So now Egg Rock comes everywhere with me, and together we're on a journey of discovery. Wow. Join us as we unearth history and legend, explore exciting new places, and discover how a rock can be more than just a rock. Egg Rock and I are here in Tamaki Makaurau, that's Auckland, New Zealand, Aotearoa. This is Cornwall Park, a popular destination for both locals and tourists. Behind us is a Māori sacred stone called the Rongo Stone, and it's had, to put it mildly, an interesting history. Where did it come from? Why is it sacred to the Māori? And how did it end up here? Egg Rock has posed all these questions, and now it's time to find out. So this is a landmark guide to the Rongo Stone of Cornwall Park. Cornwall Park covers the eastern flanks of One Tree Hill. However, this is no hill. It's a volcano called Mongakiki, and it's one of the 14 Te Puna or ancestral volcanoes that Māori inhabited for 600 or 700 years. This particular volcano erupted long before people arrived in Aotearoa, around 67,000 years ago. It's now extinct. But the importance of this volcano to Māori cannot be overstated. The summit is tapu, which means sacred, and at one time the resident Waiohua tribes had a local population of around 5,000 people. They dug these terraces into the side of the volcano, and the entire area was covered by a pa, or fortified hilltop village, with huts, defensive palisades, and gardens for growing sweet potatoes, kumara. Okay, back to the Rongo Stone. This is a modern kumara, however it is not the same kumara that Maori brought with them from Polynesia 1,000 years ago. Their variety was smaller, no larger than the size of a finger, and not divine as grown today. As the faceplate here states, this stone is a talisman of the god of kumara, Rongo, and this deity protected kumara and other crops such as taro, yams and gourds. We'll get into all this, however, this stone was originally from somewhere else. So, swapping the kumara for my stone, Egg Rock has informed me of a new ritual called touching stone. Apparently I'm meant to tap Egg Rock on an object, both to increase Egg Rock's sphere of understanding, but also to delve back into the past. Let's give it a go. Nothing. Maybe we're meant to do it with oomph. Go, Egg Rock, go. Oh wow, that worked. So, where are we? Oh, right, yes. We are in Te Arai, just north of Auckland. Behind me, this hillock here is what remains of Te Arai o Tahuhu Pa, basically a fortified hilltop, and the story of the Rongo Stone begins here. Just to be transparent, this narrative is word of mouth. Māori had an oral history, as told by Eru Maihi, a Ngāti Whatua chief, to George Graham, historian and native agent, in 1909. Going way back to the original Polynesian migration, Moe Kakara, one of the first ocean-going canoes or waka, arrived here in Aotearoa in the 1300s, literally on this beach, and the great chief Tahuhu and his father formed the settlement here of Te Arai, which means temporary shelter. Tahuhu found our mysterious basalt stone nearby and erected it as a tuahu or altar. He named the stone Te Toka-i-Tawhio, which means raised rock of the land. It was a sacred place to give offerings to the atua, the gods, and to conduct rituals that helped with childbirth, fertility, the growing of kumara, and protection from the witchcraft of surrounding tribes. It was also an oruru rufenua, which means an altar at which visitors could place offerings as they entered the village. Most settlements had this tuahu, and they were central to the religious fabric of the Māori. They consisted of sacred earth mounds, stones and vertical rods, although most of the mystic rites have long since disappeared through the shroud of history. Tahuhu and his tribe, Ngāi Tahuhu, spent time between Te Arai and the Tamaki Isthmus. In fact, he died, supposedly of witchcraft, in Aotearoa, the Auckland suburb named after him. Now, and I think Egg Rock will agree, it's never a good day when you're taken out by witchcraft. Still, many years after Tahuhu's death, in around 1475, his great-grandson, Te Ao Matangi, was still stewing over this evil curse and attacked the Waiohua tribes of Auckland for revenge. A bunch of tribal warfare ensued, and then the stone was taken south to Auckland. From here, things get complicated, so let's touch the stone and head south. I'm here at Three Kings, Te Tatua a Rio Kiuta, although it should probably now be called One King, as this is the only volcano cone left standing. This whole area was one big explosion crater, rimmed by numerous volcanic cones. This photo from 1920 shows the volcanoes being quarried away, and in fact that quarrying is still happening down to my left. Still, we're standing on what remains of the volcanoes, and here too stood the Rongo Stone at Omahu Pa, another fortified Māori village on a summit around 1660. By now, the stone was called Te Toka-i-Tawhio, the stone which has travelled all around. So this sacred stone was doing the rounds, travelling from place to place, a spiritual strumpet if you like, perhaps primarily as a Māori stone to protect kumara and other crops. So let's talk Māori. Probably the first thing to say is that Māori is not Māori. As you can hear, they're pronounced differently, and the only people who say Māori are Australians, as in, geez Sheila, I love visiting Sydney because you always get to see a Māori. What? Yes, I know we're Australians too, but it's true. Anyway, let's get metaphysical. We're now inside Te Kore, the realm Māori understand as being beyond the visible, the ultimate reality behind the mask of the physical. Forces such as Māori begin here and flow down through the creation myths into our sphere. Māori is an energy or essence, and specifically it binds the physical plane to the spiritual plane. There are two different manifestations of Māori. There's the life force within all living things. For example, when your life force leaves you, you die. But also a force that can be directed into inanimate objects such as rocks. Putting it simply, and this is a simplification, humans are able to draw from the power of the gods, the atua, and to inject a life force into buildings, altars and stones. Ancient Maori believed that mountains, rivers and all of nature contained this life principle, which in turn spawned the concepts of mana, extraordinary power, tapu, sacredness, and ho, vital essence. So, bringing egg rock back into the frame, Māori believe, similar to how the Japanese believe a spirit or kami can inhabit stones, that Maori can be projected into a stone, enlivening it and giving it the extraordinary power of mana and the vital force of ho. The power of mana will protect, say, a crop of kumara or a building from disasters. The ho, the vital force, will make kumara lush and plentiful. In addition to these spiritual concepts, it's also fair to say that ancient Māori believe gods, or the essences of gods, can reside within a sacred stone. In this instance, the god Rongo. Okay, let's go back to the physical world and three kings. So, for many years, the Rongo Stone was used as a guardian, standing over fields of kumara, actively protecting them. But it also had some more unsavoury uses. Around 1740, Kiwi Tamaki, the chief of the Waiohua tribe, infamously murdered guests at a funeral in the Kaipara area, and some of their remains were brought back here to Three Kings and placed upon our Rongo Stone as a form of sacrificial offering. The chieftainess of the affected tribe was then given the name of the stone, Te Toka-i-Tawhio, as a ghoulish and insulting moniker referencing the massacre of her own people. I guess this is what happens when you lose a war. And here our Rongo Stone is right in the middle of an important juncture in Auckland history. Kiwi Tamaki and his Waiohua tribe were now so hated that Ngāti Whatua and other tribes invaded the Auckland Isthmus and won. And when we say won, that really means the complete destruction of the Waiohua, their villages destroyed, their people massacred, and eventually reabsorbed into the victor tribes. So here at Three Kings, the fortified pa was destroyed around 1790, and our Rongo Stone was stripped of its sacredness in a ceremony by the victors, wiping away the stain of the previous blood offerings. So now our Rongo Stone is really just a stone with no Māori, no mana and no ho. No, don't worry, you've got plenty of ho. In fact, you can get us down here. So let's head right down there. The Rongo Stone ended up on the crest of a hill called Te Onekiri, part of the enormous crater rim. I was up on Three Kings by that water tower just before, and now maybe the hill was around here. But of course there is no hill. So actually the Rongo Stone would have been way up there. Standing, yes, but sacred, no. In around 1865, our stone suffered a second indignity. By now, European settlers, or Pakeha, had also come to the Tamaki Isthmus, and some vandals pushed our stone down the hill, and it came to settle by the roadside over there, which is Three Kings Road then, but Mount Eden Road now. For 40 years, the Rongo Stone sat fallen, an object of curiosity for passers-by. Finally, in 1900, Sir John Campbell, the famous early Auckland settler and businessman, heard rumours of its prior importance, uplifted it from the gutter and located it to his very own Cornwall Park, which he generously gifted to New Zealand a year later. So here it is, upright again, but without the powers it once possessed. It is no longer a tuahu. It is a nice stone in a nice park, but it does represent a loss. The chief who told us this story, Erumahi, believed that when the ancient ceremonies are neglected, when the hou and the mana of the people and the land are allowed to disappear, then Māori themselves disappear before the pakiha, subsumed into the generic fabric of this modern capitalist Auckland. Now, Egg Rock and I are outsiders, even worse, Australians, and we cannot speak for Māori. However, we believe this stone does contain a residual prestige, care of its astonishing story and totemic uses, and its story should remain alive. Where else can you go to see a stone that has travelled around right since the days of the original Polynesian settlement? Certainly for Egg Rock, the story is aspirational. So if you're ever in the area, come and see this stone, touch it, contemplate its place within the vibrant and dramatic history of this volcanic city. So with that, Egg Rock and I, your landmark guides, are signing off. And no, I'm not going to call you Te Toka-i-Tawhio.